Today's episode is brought to you by the Canby Foursquare Church. Since 1978, a place to grow, connect, and serve. Find out more at canbyfoursquare.com or on Sunday mornings at 9 and 11 a.m. Welcome to the Canby Now podcast,
your source for news.
The threat of a possible teacher strike was avoided this week.
There's a new, irresistibly cute creature winning over fans, and its name is Scootaloo.
Sports?
It's like Lucy in the football. You want to kick a field goal, but they take it away from you. So I'm not real happy about that either.
We had to learn how to win, and we had to play 4 quarters of football.
Goal can't be in the last second of the game!
And interesting conversations.
Because I'm one of the strongest girls ever, and I know that for a fact.
I just really enjoy writing gossip.
And if it would have hit me in the face, I think I would have died. I really do.
We'd be doing an obituary of Scott Hatterberg right now instead of an interview.
Should Canby High School students have access to their personal cell phones during instructional time? It's a question the Canby School Board is currently grappling with, and their last meeting revealed a difference of opinions that may not easily be solved. The two newest members of the board, Stephanie Carlson and Don Deppner, have been working with board chair Angie Dilkes to revise the district's policy on personal electronic devices, which was first adopted 5 years ago, which is an eternity in technological terms, and last revisited in 2018. Current practice leaves it up to individual teachers whether cell phones are allowed in their classrooms and if they can be used during instructional time. But Deppner and Carlson believe the devices should be turned off and out of sight in class, and they introduced language to this effect. At the last school board meeting, Deppner explained her belief that personal cell phones in the classrooms are, first of all, unnecessary, when every Canby School District student in grades 6 through 12 is provided a dedicated iPad for instructional and educational use, both in school and at home. Personal devices are easier to conceal and harder to regulate. A student using a cell phone not connected to the district's Wi-Fi would have no restrictions on the sites they visit or the applications they use. And unrestricted access to the internet and social media during classroom time, Deppner believes, could be distracting, facilitate cheating, or even lead to anxiety, depression, and cyberbullying. She said she has talked with other districts who have implemented policies prohibiting personal cell phone use in the classroom, and the effects have often been dramatic and positive.
So one of the biggest things that, or pieces of feedback that I received was kids were tardy a lot less. I also think that social media and the amount of time that the kids are on social media and the studies that have been done really tend to lean towards depression, anxiety, antisocial behavior. And I just really feel that there is a time and a place to be on social media, and your cell phone in the classroom is not that place.
The policy presented to the school board would prohibit the use of personal electronic devices during instructional time at Canby High School, which is already the rule at Baker Prairie Middle School. Students would still be permitted to have phones at school as long as they are out of sight during class time, and exceptions would be allowed for those in individualized education programs, IEPs, or 504 plans. However, the latest policy also contained one key compromise. Quote, unless authorized by the classroom teacher or school administrator, which would essentially mirror the current policy already in effect. Deppner said, and Carlson later agreed, that the problem with this is a lack of consistency and equity.
When we originally sat down and talked about this, I think really what we were looking for was consistency, and I think allowing a teacher to say, yes, you can go ahead and use it to download this, or to take pictures, or for whatever reason, we're not, one, showing equity. We need to be able to have all students use an iPad. I don't feel that they need to use their smartphone to do those things. I feel like the students need to be able to focus on what's going on in the classroom and less time on social media.
The compromise seemed to be a sticking point for several, with Carlson saying she felt it moved the policy, quote, completely away from my original intention, while another member, Rob Sheveland, called it the one change that kind of brought me around on it. Mike Zagava, vice chair of the board and a retired Canby teacher and administrator himself, said he supports the policy as presented because of the autonomy and authority it allows for the teachers to have in their own classrooms.
I think that's where you put the trust in the teacher. If the student is spending more time on the phone rather than listening to Troy or whomever, the teacher needs to deal with that. And then the teacher says, "Put your phone away. You're not going to use the phone," or whatever. But it's still that teacher's classroom. And I agree with what everybody's saying, that there's a time and a place for the iPhone.
Superintendent Tripp Goodall said that the no-tolerance policy had provoked some concerns among teachers and administrators about how it would be monitored and policed. Implementing such a restrictive policy would be very, very difficult at the high school level, he explained, an opinion that he said is shared by other superintendents in the region. "I don't want to say that ship has sailed, but it would be difficult," Goodall said. In the end, the school board did not vote on the issue, but requested further research and information on how the policy might be enforced. The Canby School District is currently in the process of developing a bond package of approximately $75 million or less, which may be presented to voters in the May or November elections of this year. The district would generate up to $75 million in bond funds without raising tax rates. Instead, the idea would be to extend the current rate, which was related to the construction of the Baker Prairie Middle School 15 years ago, and is set to expire at the end of 2020. Polling of likely voters last year helped establish the direction of the bond. It will be aimed at needed facilities updates and deferred maintenance projects, safety improvements, and educational and vocational upgrades such as expanded science labs and modern technology. The district has recruited a bond development group consisting of 24 business owners, community members, district staff, and administrators. Their task is to recommend the package that will ultimately be presented to the school board, and as such, they will play a critical role in shaping the district's future for the next 20 years. The group has been asked to focus their work on educational and programmatic facility projects, while district staff has been working with cost estimators on the maintenance and safety needs. Communications coordinator Autumn Foster told the school board at their last meeting that a list of the most critical safety and maintenance needs has been compiled out of some 500 possible projects.
So one of the biggest things that, or pieces of feedback that I received was kids were tardy a lot less. I also think that social media and the amount of time that the kids are on social media and the studies that have been done really tend to lean towards depression, anxiety, antisocial behavior. And I just really feel that there is a time and a place to be on social media, and your cell phone in the classroom is not that place.
With $35 million accounted for, that would leave approximately $40 million in the bond for the development group to work with. Their first meeting was December 4th, and according to, they spent a lot of that time discussing what might be needed to help prepare Canby students for a future that looks very different than what it looks like now.
When we originally sat down and talked about this, I think really what we were looking for was consistency, and I think allowing a teacher to say, yes, you can go ahead and use it to download this, or to take pictures, or for whatever reason, we're not, one, showing equity. We need to be able to have all students use an iPad. I don't feel that they need to use their smartphone to do those things. I feel like the students need to be able to focus on what's going on in the classroom and less time on social media.
At their second meeting on December 18th, the group delved deeper into the guiding principles for the project that they had developed, engaging students through hands-on activities, experiences and resources for social and emotional skills, collaborative problem solving, career and technical education, CTE, life skills, and, quote, being able to use space in a flexible manner. The work group will take a tour of district facilities on January 7th, followed by their third meeting 2 days later. There will also be 2 community meetings, the first of which is on January 14th. All of the meetings are open to the public to attend and comment, but the community meetings are more deliberately designed to solicit input, answer questions, and hear concerns and feedback from district voters and stakeholders. The board is scheduled to vote on the matter at a special session on February 11th. If they decide to move forward, it will initiate 2 more weeks of public comment and polling. A deadline to place the measure on the ballot for the May primary is February 28th. 138 quality manufacturing jobs in Canby have been preserved through the successful retention effort of ICC Northwest, which had reportedly been looking at a possible relocation and expansion outside the state. Thanks to the work of the cities of Canby and Tualatin, Business Oregon, and a $200,000 grant from the State Strategic Reserve Fund, the Canby-based manufacturer of stainless steel tanks, mixers, and systems will instead be expanding with a new location in Tualatin, adding an additional 66 jobs to its payroll and an average wage of $66,000 a year. Mayor Brian Hodson announced the successful effort at the last City Council meeting.
ICC Northwest recently received a $200,000 strategic reverse fund loan from the governor's office, which will enable them to expand operations here in Oregon versus there was talk of them possibly relocating out of Oregon. And so this actually allows them to stay here and expand. They'll be adding another warehouse and manufacturing center in Tualatin and add an additional 60 jobs.
ICC is the company formerly known as JV Northwest, a manufacturer of tanks and systems for beer, wine, cider, and other industries. ICC Group, a firm based in St. Louis, acquired JV Northwest a little over a year ago amid challenging financial times for the 37-year-old family-owned company. The change comes after it was announced that the operations at the company's 50,000 square foot state-of-the-art manufacturing facility in Canby would be assumed by ICC Group, an engineering and design firm based in St. Louis. JV Northwest was established in 1981 and named after its founders, Don Jones and Ken Verbort. It was born out of one of those funky little quirks of history. A depression in the timber industry had created an excess of stainless steel, which had been intended to make saws for the lumber mills. Instead, Jones bought some and started making tanks for the beverage industry at a time when the wine boom was just beginning in the Pacific Northwest. Within a few years, the beer industry experienced a resurgence, and the company was soon making the first brew systems for pioneers like Bridgeport, Deschutes, Full Sail, and Widmer. Jones continued to be involved with the company as chairman of the board, though the day-to-day operations as CEO were ultimately assumed by his son, David Jones. Today, the company remains a leading custom manufacturer of stainless steel tanks for the food processing, beverage, pharmaceutical, cannabis, pure water, and chemical industries, some of them as big as 50 feet tall. The Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee has been awarded a $35,000 development grant from the county's tourism office to further research and lay the groundwork for a bike trail that would connect Canby with Molalla, its neighbor 10 miles to the southwest. The program by the Clackamas County Tourism and Cultural Affairs is aimed at assisting local communities and organizations in funding projects that, quote, benefit the greater public interests of tourism development. Awards range from a minimum of $5,000 up to $250,000. In announcing the award, Councilor Greg Parker credited the work and the vision of the Bike and Pedestrian Committee Chair Mindy Monacuco, as well as Canby's #1 grant getter.
Credit goes to Mindy Monacuco for her leadership on the Bike Committee of saying, let's just do this. And with inspiration from Carol Palmer, who is now Canby's #1 grant getter. I think you've had 12 out of 13.
Oh my.
And I think you helped a little bit with this one too. So thank you. And also to Calvin Lesueur, our staff. Calvin's been really helpful.
The next steps will need to include coordination between Bike and Pedestrian as well as the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
This falls between the two jurisdictions. Strategically, I think it made sense of trying to get money out of the tourism fund by going from the bike angle. That I think that they played a pretty good card there of saying that this can have a regional tourism effect by using bicycling. But we do need to coordinate this with existing plans that the Parks Committee has already been doing.
A longtime goal of Monacuco and other city leaders, the planned bike and pedestrian walkway would extend the existing logging road trail, which is a holdover from the real historical logging road used by Weyerhaeuser to transport raw timber from the Molalla Forest to the Willamette River north of Canby. A donation from the Traverso family in 2017 brought the possibility of adding an additional 3 miles to the existing trail, which would effectively double its length and bring the city about 2/3 of the way to restoring the Canby-Molalla connection. But the Traverso portion is unpaved and will need additional work and development to bring it in line with the existing trail. The Clackamas County Sheriff's Office is now investigating a fire that broke out in the basement of a building housing a transitional home on Christmas Day. Clackamas Fire responded to the report of the 15,000 block of Southeast Rainier Avenue in Clackamas shortly after 4 p.m. to find smoke billowing from the home. Firefighters quickly went to work to extinguish the basement fire that was spreading to the attic. All of the occupants of the transitional housing program, Transcending Hope, were able to escape from the building safely with no injuries were reported. The Red Cross responded to assist with the relocation of the impacted families. In a follow-up this week, fire investigators reportedly confirmed that the fire was started by a child who was living at the home. They say the fire caused significant damage and displaced 5 adults and 6 children. The case has been referred to the Sheriff's Office for further investigation.
More than 1.2 million Americans receive internet, TV, and telephone services from community cooperatives like Direct Link. They believe that their role revolves around partnerships, whether sponsoring a local event, hosting educational classes, or investing in fiber internet technology. Direct Link is here for our community because they are a part of our community.
Beyond just working in Canby, most of Direct Link's employees live here as well. Direct Link's investment in the local area reaches past business interests and extends into the everyday lives of neighbors, friends, and families. Visit them online at directlink.coop to learn more about their communication services and community activities. My guest on the Canby Conversation today is joining us once again, head football coach Jimmy Joyce.
How's it going? How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Very good.
And we also have a player with us today. It's Bryant Raeburn. He's a senior. He's played football for 2 years, but been here in Canby his whole life. Hi, Bryant.
How's it going?
You're also a homecoming king this year.
Yes.
Yeah. Congratulations, Your Majesty.
We have royalty in the studio today.
I know, right? I'm sorry the red carpet was out at the dry cleaner. We weren't able to roll that out. So let's start with you, Bryant, because I know from just past experience and kind of watching you at games that you're a very shy guy and you have to really draw you out. So no, I'm just teasing you.
I was like,
who are you been talking to? But I do want to hear from a player kind of what this season was like. You've had now a couple of months to sort of reflect a little bit. I know you've had other stuff going on as well, but looking back at this past season, what's kind of some of your takeaways?
Well, to like compare it from like last year to this year, I think there's really good like leadership, and we had like more of a brotherhood.
Okay, let's have Coach leave the room and tell me really. No, I'm just kidding.
So we had like a good brotherhood where like last year there's a lot of like separate friend groups, I'd say, but this year was just like one big family.
Oh, cool.
And with, like coaches like just like inspiration and like energy kind of just like gave us all like a just like kick in the butt to just get going. And like ever since summer or the spring camp, we just kind of
was that
steadily climb from there.
I don't know if some folks have kind of listened to past interviews. This year, third time on the show, Coach, and if anybody's sort of wondering like, what, the football guy again? Like,
exactly.
But I love, and for a couple different reasons, which we'll talk about, but one of them is you and your team, it's not just about football. Like, you guys are bringing a lot more to the culture of these athletes and lessons that serve them for hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, there used to be a phrase when I was growing up called life sports, and everyone always assumed the two life sports were tennis and golf because you can play those for the rest of your life, and you always wanted to learn it because you can do business on the golf course, you know. But really, I've always felt like any sport really is a life sport because the lessons that you learn on the field and in practice and in the meeting rooms and just walking the halls as a football player, a baseball player, a basketball player, whatever, stay with you forever. And it was really impactful this year because in talking with people about coming in and talking to these kids, it was a great community member, Ken Buckles, talked to me about the Baton Death March and how he was at a meeting of survivors from the Bataan Death March, one of the most cruel and unusual things that ever happened in World War II. I mean, probably outside the Holocaust is one of those things that was just very damaging. Yeah. And these survivors said, you know, what got them through was high school football. Yeah. You know, they felt the adversity, the brotherhood. They knew they couldn't stop. They had to keep on moving forward. Yeah. And I think that's
I don't want to breeze past it. That's like unbelievable. That's so cool.
It is. And I look back at like myself, and you know, high school football shaped who I was, and you know, it got me to where I'm at today. And it's like, even though, you know, you go on, you play college ball, I have friends that have gone on and played in the pros. We have one coach on staff whose son's currently playing for the San Diego Chargers, and you can still talk to his son, and the most impactful thing that he has in his memory is high school football. You know, it's the time where you grow up with these guys. Right. You play for your community that raised you. Yeah. And you know, we want to give back to that, but we also, you know, we want to instill in these guys that, you know, you are powerful. You can accomplish anything you want to accomplish. You just have to put in the work. And that's something that's really huge. And you know, I always joke, and I said, if a player comes back to me 10 years from now, though, and says high school football is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me, then I've probably failed him. But if a player comes back in 10 years and say, you know what I learned on the high school football field led me to the greatest experiences of my life because I used those lessons, then we've succeeded as coaches. Yeah.
Well, when you talk about life sports, I can tell you right now, nobody wants to watch me play tennis or golf. So, Bryant, what lessons do you think you'll take with you your senior? You've played your last Canby High football game.
Exactly. I mean, I think just like the whole inspiration and effort, like you have to put all in. You have to be all into whatever you do to bring success in whatever you do. So it's going to be like, for me, it's going to be college classes. For the other seniors, it's going to be, it could be football, it could be other sports or whatever, but you're going to have to put all in to get the best result. And be the happiest, honestly.
And you've done football for a couple years. I'm sure other activities and plenty of other experiences in your school career here in Canby. Do you think that football does stand up a little bit among, you know, just at this early stage, you know? Do you think?
I think it really does, because it was the talk of the town. I walked in Monday after class, first period. They'd be like, "So, do you win?" I'm like, "Why weren't you at the game?" And sadly, the first 7 weeks or whatever, I had to say no. But after that, it was exciting because I could say, yes, we won.
Cool. Well, let's go there, because I do want to talk about, and that was the other kind of big thing to have football here on the podcast again, is Canby is such a football town. And you're, you know, you grew up here, Bryant. Coach, you're in your first year here. You've played, coached against Canby.
Coached against Canby many years.
But you started using, I think, into the season, started using that best football town in Oregon on social media and stuff. Maybe we'll start with Bryant, kind of your experience and where you, as far as football being so important to this town.
So I played my 3rd grade through 8th grade year. And every Friday, come to the games, we'd walk around the track, and I just remember like some of those great players that like coaches still talk about today. AJ Slaughter, Sam Bodine, all those guys were just like studs. Right? So we like always be like, oh, I wish we could be like that guy. And it was like, it kind of, because all those kids come to those games, they kind of just watch us and like idolize us in some way, which hopefully, at least for me, it like motivated me to get better or play better, because those little kids play the next Saturday morning at 10 a.m. maybe on the same turf that we just played at, and hopefully it just like, I don't know, it just gave me like that confidence or like inspiration.
Cool. So kind of that from the top down, you know, even starting at 3rd grade, like it's just sort of in your DNA.
Well, I mean, I grew up in Beaverton, and you know, I Beaverton, you know, you always thought Beaverton was a football town, but at the same time, we're fractured in many different ways because...
Like 6 different high schools.
6 different high schools. Now, when I was going through, there wasn't 6 different high schools, so it was a little bit different. You basically had a situation where you felt there was a lot more community. You could walk in, you know, to a grocery store and people cared. You know, they wanted to know how the game went, or they had a comment about the game. They wanted to give you props or anything like that. In Beaverton, in the last 10 years, really has gone away from that because there are 6 different high schools. The assistant coaches that I brought in from Beaverton, we were all kind of enamored with the fact that, I mean, one of the things that attracted me to the Canby job was the sense of community that is created by it. But they would all say the same thing, is like, it's amazing to walk around town, be in town, and people actually care. And they want to know. And it really started impacting me very early on when the school year started. I love going over to Cutsforth to get soup. I love their soup. I wish they had their chicken and dumplings more, but you know, it's still, I go there every day for soup for lunch, and it's fun to walk around and have people ask how the game went, or want to know how the game went, or, you know, like, hey, couldn't make it to South Medford, and the cashier's talking about, you know, when their kids played there. And it's an investment in the community. Yeah. And that's really where it came from, is that there's so few good football towns anymore. There's few, I mean, and I know it sounds like it's just focusing on football, but what it's really saying is it's a good town. Yeah. You know, it's a town that actually cares about what these kids are doing at that high school. Yeah. And that's hard to find in this modern day we live in. And it's just something that was actually where the best football town in Oregon came from, was kind of our quarterbacks coach, who was my head coach in high school, Faustin Riley, kind of just said, he goes, you know, this is cool. He goes, I've coached for 40 years, but I've never really coached in a football town. And then I kind of slowly started getting the wheels turned and the hamster started moving a little faster. And then that's where that kind of came from.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, there's some exciting stuff in the future that we're going to talk about for a little bit as well. But before we get there, I did want to post-mortem the season a little bit. We've talked about it somewhat, but kind of hit some of the highs and lows if you guys want to. So yeah, you mentioned, Brian, when you were talking kind of the first 7 games of the losses, you know, but there was, it was there. Not every loss was created equal. Like, you guys had some really good games and good competitive games. Let's talk about maybe the first couple. So season opener against Lincoln, and then, like you mentioned, Coach, down to South Medford. Both of those were within a touchdown. You know, do you recall kind of what the feel was back then? Like,
I mean, I recall it because I watch film once in a while, and then like kids will post their highlight tapes who are going to be playing next year, but like the jamboree was super like rocky start, really rocky
to say
start.
The least.
Okay, we could say that, I guess.
Sure.
But so Lincoln game, we went in all confident, kids, everyone was there, like the whole entire town, new thing, everyone were like this. We were thinking, because like we have a group chat for our football team, and kids were saying, dude, I was just thinking about catching a touchdown, I got the chills. It was like this whole thing, just huge anticipation that started all the way from the last game last year, that we just like wanted redemption most. And like we were doing great, the last couple plays or whatever, just kind of like a letdown, but we all felt that like surge of confidence where we like, we can do this, you know what I mean? And then South Medford, I mean,
there's like you know, the term can be a little touchy, like, and you've even talked, Coach, about moral victory, you know, but I feel like that's appropriate there. Like, you guys really showed we can go toe-to-toe with these guys, score however it turned out, but and the I think score that was 22-26. I mean, it was close.
And that was big for community members that doubted us. So they're like, oh, then maybe this isn't the best idea, but they saw us put up 22 points or whatever, where we scored barely any points last year in total. And they're like, okay, they actually have a chance.
It was about a third of what you know the previous season in that first game. So yeah, absolutely. And then head down to South Medford, another close one.
South Medford, it was a close one. I think at first we were intimidated because South Medford came down here last year and they were really good. And I think they're still a great football program, great football team. But I definitely think it was a winnable game. But we went in hesitant. Like, what was the first quarter? We did 4 offensive plays.
It was pretty sad.
It was a bad first quarter, bad first half. But the second half came out, we just came out firing. It just came up a little short.
Third game was against Tigard. I'm going to table that a little bit when we're talking more about league stuff. That was our first league game. And then we had Newburgh. To me, as an observer, Newburgh felt like maybe a low point, or maybe the low point of the season.
I think if you look at a 9-game season, I think there was really 2 low points, Newburgh being one of them. I think Newburgh, and then I think Lake Oswego, because Lake Oswego was a tough week. It was just that was a tough Friday night. And but Newburgh, I think the one thing and this is the one thing about perception that always gets people in trouble, I think, in football and all sports, really, is that right before the game, someone told me, the last time we won, we beat Newburgh. So the perception is already there that Newburgh
at home
Newburgh is this winnable game. Well, you just have to watch film and you see Newburgh.
And it was homecoming.
It was homecoming.
No,
it wasn't homecoming.
We had a KGW assembly.
Sorry, that's what it was.
There was a lot of focus on
not homecoming, but there was something.
There's a lot of focus on the game, a lot of anticipation. I remember walking through the hallways one day, and people were like, "Tonight's the night. Tonight's the night." And exactly. It's tough because it's hard to tell someone, well, Newburgh's really a good football team.
Right, yeah.
And they proved they're a really good football team. You know, their defense was the top scoring defense in the state of Oregon. Also allowed the fewest points in the state of Oregon outside of, I think maybe Lake Oswego, but I'm not sure, 100% sure. But I mean, this team is producing at a top rate. Yeah. Just seeing the other day that, you know, the way too early top 10s, they're like 6th in 6A. Yeah. So I mean, that's a really good football team right there, and they're really well coached. Yeah. You know, they were in the 3rd year of a coaching change, and he's got it rolling now, and so you know, that was really tough. And I think there was also, I mean, you know, I always say is excuses, you know, don't matter. And we didn't play a very good game. Yeah. We didn't execute. We didn't execute on offense. We didn't execute on defense. We had a lot of, you know, just mistakes that we hadn't been making all year. Yeah. And we were making those mistakes. And I think it was a little bit of wide-eyed because we didn't expect these guys to come out and punch us in the face and punch us in the face.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I'd say Coach Joyce hit that on the spot. I mean, we were like, after we got like a turnover the first play, or a big play or something like that. We're like, oh, sweet. Yeah. We were like, eyes got big. We're like, sweet. Yeah. And then once we just started getting punched in the mouth, I mean, we just like, what the heck is happening? Yeah. And we didn't kind of just like, we didn't like mesh together and find a solution. We were just like stunned practically.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Newburgh, I think, was just a lot more locked in that game. Like they were just ready to go. Yeah. Okay, and then we had one non-league game at the end of the season, but then we really get into the thick of league play. You know, Tualatin, we were at Tualatin. Lost that one pretty bad. They're a tough team. I think Lake Oswego was so tough because the next one after that was Lake Ridge, and that was within a touchdown. That was a close game, and Lake Ridge is a real good team.
You really look at Tiger, Tualatin, and Lake Ridge, and I think those are 3 really good games for us. Yeah. They really were. I mean, we scored actually more points in Tualatin than any other team in the state of Oregon.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, and that was your almost until the last 2 games. That was your high-scoring game. Yes, 33 points. I mean,
that was, you know, that was a big. We hadn't made a quarterback change that week, so there was a lot of question marks about that. Yeah. And we performed really well. I mean, putting up, I think we had 28 points at halftime against one of the top teams in the state. Yeah. And you know, that was a step in the right direction. We stunned them a little bit. Yeah. They didn't really know what to do.
Yeah. I mean, we were walking out, and their student section was chanting like 0-4.
Right.
Yeah. Whatever. Yeah. We're just going to go out and play, and we stunned them, honestly. Yeah. They didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so that was huge. The first half against Tiger.
Feel good.
Yeah. The first half of Tiger is also a mirror image of that in some way, where we moved the ball consistently. People forget that we got stopped on a 4th and short on the goal line, where we get an extra 7 points in the first half right there. Yeah. And it's a 7-point game going at halftime. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that we can take from that as, you know, these kids fought all year. And that's the one thing they did do, is they fought tooth and nail for almost everything. Yeah. Even in the Newburgh game. I mean, you can say, it was probably a bad 44 minutes of football. Yeah. The last 4 minutes weren't too bad. Yeah. You know, there were signs of life being shown. So that's a hallmark of what these kids were really doing. Was that
Mikey's first game when he came in?
Newburgh?
Yeah.
He subbed in at the very end.
Tualatin was his first. Okay. Yeah.
So, you know, that's when you throw a sophomore into it.
Well, Tualatin was his first start, but Newburgh, he came in and scored.
At the very end. But, I mean, and you saw, you know, guys rallying around each other and wanting to at least put up a show, you know, put up some points to show it. And that was huge.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so, you know, I had the close game against Lake Ridge, then Lake Oswego at Lakeo was a tough one. But really, when you look at the schedule, you know, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, but you guys were really close in any non-league game.
Any non-league, we looked good.
And a few league games as well. First of those being, you know, Oregon City, that the breaking the streak. Let's talk about that. So, what was that like?
It was honestly like shocking.
How did you come into it? So I mean, you went had into some of your swagger back at that point.
It was practically, we came off Lake Oswego, we got punched in the mouth. We were like, it's now or never practically. Because like Coach Joyce said in the Monday meeting, we have a chance to make the playoffs. We win these 2 games, you never know. Never know what's going to happen. Don't know what the computer's going to do.
There was some stakes, so Oregon City, is also in the Three Rivers League, which we were in. Both of you guys winless in the league at that point, and the final league game for both of you. So both of you knew one of us is going to,
There's a pride factor.
Exactly. So
we don't necessarily like Oregon City.
Right.
One thing to say about the Tualatin, Tigard, and Lakeridge game, those were at halftime scores. If you look at the halftime scores, we were down by a touchdown, maybe two. They're all close games going into the fourth quarter, and then they just had more talent, more whatever, and they kind of just pulled away.
Deeper bench a little bit.
You have to learn to win, and I think that's what we were on that process of doing. We had to learn how to win. And we had to play 4 quarters of football. We got pretty good at playing 2 quarters, 3 quarters. We never played a full 4 quarters until Oregon City. I mean, there was too many, we'd have a series of 8 minutes where we were playing bad football. But in Oregon City, it was 48 minutes of focused, fast, and then we finally finished the job. And that's huge.
That's a great way to put it. And as an observer, I sort of feel like I felt that, especially coming off the Lake Oswego thing, like you mentioned, Brian sort of got punched in the face with that one, and kind of reinventing yourself or rediscovering yourself as a team and as players a little bit in Oregon City, realizing that okay, Lake Oswego's championship caliber team, but we can stand toe to toe with most folks.
I think the big thing, we needed to learn how to win. After the Lincoln game, I went out to fellow senior captain Ronan Gay, and I said, what do you think we need to do? And we practically both said we need to learn how to win, because we didn't know how to do that last year, obviously. But this year, that's what we needed to do.
And you see that reflected in the next game, final game of the season, Roseburg. You guys almost look like a different team from even playing pretty well at the start of the season, but you just kind of smacked those guys.
That was, again, I mean, I think Oregon City was a cleaner game. Actually, it was a cleaner game, but I mean, I'll take some onus on that too. I tried to clear a play card at the second half because we had some stuff worked out that we wanted to do. But you saw what these kids were able to do, and they kept their foot on the accelerator and kept moving forward. And that's something that's what learning to win is. I mean, that's a hard skill to have. I've had a lot of great teams that take time to learn how to win, and it's a skill that once you obtain it, you can carry it over to basketball, to wrestling, to baseball, because you start to get that internal feeling that you're like, okay, we got it, let's go.
The Oregon City, do you think was a highlight, Brian?
I'd say so. Roseburg was senior night, so that was kind of emotional in the beginning, but it was such a fun game and so good. I didn't have time to be emotional after. But the Oregon City game was just kind of a deep breath. Finally, we did it.
The community swarmed the field.
Of course.
It just felt like we won a championship.
Exactly.
I think the thing that stuck out in my mind about Oregon City too was, and my wife said it best, looking back at the previous games, if we had pulled it off against Lincoln, would it have been as sweet? No. And it's you guys actually had to earn it. And, I was telling people...
and especially, if it had been on the road, that would have been great.
We would have done it down South Bedford. It would have been great, don't get me wrong, but, there was something that we built up to this. We put in the work, and then to do it against a league rival, against someone that, who probably felt pretty confident coming into that game. Felt really good.
They for sure did. Because you saw Oregon City guys were defeat. They didn't know what to do, honestly. Their linemen, once we double teamed, they just fell to the ground. They didn't know what to do, and then their Oregon City kids were crying because they're like, what the heck just happened? And they honestly probably thought their playoff hopes went away because they only had one more game, and it was versus Westland, a great team.
So looking forward, we after the season, it was pretty quick after the season. If I remember, you got the surprise message offer from the OSAA.
It was very surprising, actually. I mean, I was literally setting up for the banquet, and it was literally, we're stapling stuff up, and our AD Ben Weiniger comes into me and he goes, check your email. And I checked my email. I didn't see anything. So he forwards it to me, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And, talk to the coaches, about
Do you have to help Coach with his email sometimes, Brian?
Well, no. Coach is pretty on top of it.
I figured that out.
Come here, Grandpa. Give me your phone.
Here it is. And, the opportunity to move to 5A was presented to us. And so I remember sitting on the stage kind of just thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, pros, cons, and stuff. And then it was about, okay, how do we go about this?
Yeah.
What do we do to come through this? And I remember reaching out to you and saying, hey, we're gonna have this meeting, could you come?
And
I didn't tell you exactly what it was yet, because
right.
we wanted to kind of keep it pretty quiet,
right.
And it was first just talking to people within the school and what does this really mean what does this look like? And then it kind of became just something that I felt like was going to be something that was probably what's in the best interest of the program going forward.
So it was an offer that was just for football.
Just for football.
It was based on the record.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one thing from that meeting that I thought was really interesting. Somebody asked why are you starting this kind of program where you offered the chance to move down with football? And she said it's really because of the physicality of that sport. If you're sort of outclassed in basketball or in tennis or whatever, it's like, okay, you lose a lot, but you're not getting beat up.
Yeah.
So,
and I think football, being a contact sport is so based on numbers.
Yeah.
It's what it comes down to. And I think that's where it kind of, at first I was like, well, why would we do this? And then it's like, okay, so let's look at our school numbers.
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa. And, luckily I have relationships with a lot of coaches in the area. And I was like, okay, how many kids do you have out for football?
Yeah.
And then we were able to start comparing ourselves to people around us, and it's like, this is what's in the best interest for the kids.
Yeah, I think when you, like you mentioned, when you start to look at the numbers, it makes so much sense. To me, it was always sort of like, looking at coaches' jobs and the community's jobs versus the players' jobs. The players' jobs are to show up, to work hard, to do what their coaches say, to follow that game plan and everything. And you guys have been doing that. And we've gone 4-27 in 3 years. Our job and the coach's job is to put you guys in the best position to succeed. Assuming you're doing your job. Yeah. And to me, this felt like part of that, especially when the numbers just made sense.
Yeah, I mean, and I've told people this. Can we compete at 6A? Of course we compete at 6A. That's not a problem. I mean, that's never been an issue for me. I was like, we can beat Thurston. We just won the 5A state title, beat Sheldon.
Yeah.
Who was the top 10 team in 6A. So there's plenty. We can compete in 6A.
Yeah.
It's not a demotion.
Yeah.
It's what it really is an opportunity to be competitive in a way that against schools that mirror our demographics a lot better.
What was sort of the feel of the players, Bryant? Or were you more hands off because it's like, I'm a senior, it doesn't affect me?
I think all of us seniors had an opinion.
Yeah.
Obviously, it wouldn't affect us, but honestly, I feel like a part of the program in some way because I played here and I was the start of something.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be at as many games as I can next year. But I think a lot of us were like, oh, we need to play in 6A, prove something. Yeah. But I helped out with John Hull, coach 8th grade team, 8th grade football.
Yeah.
My 8th grade year when I played or whatever, there's so many more kids.
Yeah.
It's just a decrease of football size, football numbers or whatever, just kids generally playing football.
Right.
And us coaches try to recruit within the school, but sometimes it just doesn't work out.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it was just in the best interest. And I think we're going to have a great team next year.
Yeah.
But I think it was a move for the future, honestly.
Yeah.
And our freshman class this year has 14 kids?
14 kids.
And those 14 kids may not play all 4 years.
Yeah.
So it's just huge. I thought it was the best move, honestly.
Cool.
Yeah. And the thing about it was, I knew kids were going to be upset about it.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting down with the coaches and saying,
I would be. You would want them to be a little have that pride.
Exactly. And I said, as a coach, that's what I want them to be upset because I want them to have that hunger to go out and prove something.
Right.
And I go, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think they have to understand, this is a move that we're trying to make for the program as a whole. And Brian just said that youth numbers are a huge part of this.
Yeah.
Success does help with numbers. It's not the only inhibiting factor. I mean, obviously Lake Oswego and Lake Ridge are both having a really tough time with numbers.
Yeah.
I reached out to a lot of coaches and, in the state, and numbers are an issue.
Yeah.
We're unfortunate that we do play teams where the numbers are not an issue. And if we can slowly start building those numbers up again, that will make this worthwhile.
Yeah.
And that's huge.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, what's best in 5 years for this program compared to what's best right now. And right now, I would honestly say I think 5A is still the best thing.
Yeah.
But I know in 5 years it's going to be the best thing too.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let's start wrapping things up here a little bit. Bryant, do you know what's next for you after graduation?
So I plan on going to community college to play baseball.
Okay.
So I don't know exactly what I want to do, but I'm going to try to play baseball.
Yeah, and you'll play baseball this spring?
Yes, of course.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what position?
Pitcher.
Okay.
That's what I'm best at. Yeah.
Awesome.
Baseball team should be good this year.
Cool.
So
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
You guys were good last year.
Yeah. We made the playoffs first time in a while.
Yeah. Awesome. And then, Coach, we'll probably do a preview or something next year, but those way too early, things are coming out from the very beginning. I remember even before the decision was fully made, you talked a lot about expectations, and how there's going to be them.
Yeah, well, and I think that's the exciting part about this too, is we've
got the third best team in 5A now.
Yeah, supposedly. In December. So that's great. Those are that's clickbait in so many ways. It's clickbait, but the thing about it was, and that's something I told the kids when we made this decision, is you now have expectation thrust upon you.
Yeah.
We entered this season. We had our glass ceiling was almost on the floor. And we busted through that. But now that ceiling's been raised really high. And now we have to raise those expectations. And in a lot of ways, these kids have never played football with expectations before. And I think that's on us as coaches to get them ready, get them confident enough that, because I've won state and I've won national championships. After you win them, it's hard. It's really hard. And it's because and it's not because you have the weight of the ring on your finger. It's because you have people's attention. And people want to see what you're going to do. We have that attention now. We don't have the ring, but we have the attention. And people are going to expect, us to be playing in November. They want to see a deep playoff run. And those are possibilities.
Right.
Were they possibilities in 6A? Of course. But we were talking today, in 6A, you can pencil in 6 teams in the quarterfinals every year. And then 2 teams are going to break through that window, and then they're going to fall back down the next year.
Right.
Here we have the chance to be one of those penciled in teams, but we have to work to get there.
Right.
And we have a lot of work to do to get there, and that's going to start real soon.
Right. Yeah, the expectations, and also just there's no excuses anymore. I mean, this community was going to support the football team and has for years, no matter what, through 0-9 season even. But now it's we have a bad season. That's going to be hard.
The expectation is you show up on a Friday night to see a victory or a really, really hard-fought game against a top-tier team. That's the expectation. The expectation last year, in so many ways, and this has no bearing on the players or coach or anything like that, it has every bearing on what the program has been through the last 4 or 5 years, was it's a good time and hopefully they do well.
Right.
That's not good enough anymore.
Hopefully we'll maybe score touchdowns.
We'll see. Exactly. I remember kids seeing the first fireworks and he saw them oh, thank you. That's the expectation now is, we're, we have a target on our back.
Well, we'll say fireworks for the next podcast.
That's always a touchy subject.
But great. Thank you guys so much for your time, especially Brian. You've got to get back to school, man. Come on. Thanks for coming by the studio.
He's got to go deliver
targets. Appreciate it. Good luck in the spring season for baseball,
of course.
Brian.
Thank
and
you.
Coach, if there's anything we can do to support here,
awesome.
We love what you're doing.
No, you guys do a great job. So thank you.
I'm here at Advantage Mortgage with Derek Hill. And Derek, you were telling me about something that just came down from Fannie Mae that people might be interested in.
Yeah, Fannie Mae just came out with a report that said that the average homeowner in the United States has approximately 70% equity in their home.
Oh, wow.
Right. I mean, that's obviously average throughout the whole country, but because values have come up so substantially in the last 10 years, there is a ton of equity available that people can utilize.
Cool. So if people are potentially like looking to buy or move into a new home, you're saying that equity means it might be something that you would look at remodeling instead of maybe if the market's not looking favorable to you.
Right, 100%. Because the market in Portland is so tough to buy, we have an average of like 2.5 months worth of inventory, so it's just super hard for people to find what they're looking for. It may be just easier for them to take out some equity and do the upgrades or do an addition or pay off some debt or lots of different things. And that's one of the things that we love to do with people is sit down with them and kind of go over a game plan. Cool. That's one of the biggest things is knowing what you can do, and we love taking the time to do that for people.
Awesome. And people can find you on your website or just give you a call?
They can go to findtheadvantage.com or call 266-5800, obviously 503 area code. And we love to chit-chat, and we have, 8 or 9 different loan officers here in the Canby office that would love to sit down with somebody and work with them.
Cool. Thanks, Derek.
So just remember, Derek Hill, NMLS number 50183, Advantage Mortgage, NMLS number 177059, equal housing opportunity.
Yeah, no problem. Sure we will. Well, I'm here at Cutsforth Market, where it's a bit of a bittersweet occasion as the store and the community is bidding farewell to Ron Russ, who's retiring this week. He retired on Tuesday the 31st after how long, Ron?
44 years and 4 months.
Is that all? So you started on your birthday back in 1975.
Yeah, any details, or should I just say yes, I started on my birthday?
Yeah, no, tell me the details. Always the details, Ron.
Okay, well, I can tell you a little bit then that we moved out to Oregon from Missouri. I was working at a place where my wife and I decided I was going to have to quit there because I said, well, give me one more chance. I'll go talk to the union. The union said, can't do anything for you, so I quit. My wife was pregnant, and she talked me into quitting. So I said, is there any place you liked out here in Oregon? So she said, well, I like Canby. So we drove out to Canby, and the guy at Highway Market in those days, 45 years ago, he took my name and number, and that made me feel pretty good. So we headed back to Portland, and my wife says, oh, look, there's an A&W stand. Why don't you stop and get me a pop? For some reason, I wanted to say, I have no job, you're pregnant, and you want me to stop and get you a pop.
Right.
But I didn't say that. I just pulled in. I was in a good mood, I guess. And after he took my name and number, so we pulled in, so we're sitting there drinking the pops, and she says, oh, look, there's another store, and she points it out quickly. Well, they never called me back from Highway Market, and if she hadn't looked across the tracks there, I probably wouldn't have come back to Canby's. And 44 years later,
here you are.
So, that was just a fluke to get out here, it seemed like.
Yeah. Well, it's obviously been a very emotional day. Even as we're having this interview, a lot of people are coming by and just wishing you happy retirement. What does that feel like?
It's kind of encouraging. I can't share some things that I've heard, but to know that sometimes when you're cheerful, it does good.
Yeah.
Somebody told me something that reminded me of the scripture, a merry heart does good like a medicine.
Well, I mean, we shop here, my family and I, and you do exude that. We're absolutely going to miss you, that friendly face that you always have. Do you put that on, or does it just come out of you?
Now, I like the job.
Obviously, yeah.
The getting the job, as I started to say a while ago, was I came in and talked to Elsie, and she says, well, my son's going to be taking over the hiring. I go, oh, okay. So we went to the same church, and so I talked to her for about an hour, and her son Frank came in.
Yeah.
So I talked to him for about an hour, and he says, why don't you come back and talk to me tomorrow? Fine, I go. Anything else to do?
Yeah, right.
And then a little bit later, he was leaving. He says, tell you what, why don't you just come back and start tomorrow? So that's how I started on my 25th birthday.
Yeah.
Really glad to get the job.
Yeah. So you interviewed or, made your first inquiry the day before your birthday, but your first day was your birthday. That's how it works. Yeah.
It was slick.
Yeah.
So really happy.
So I've never done anything for even a tenth of 44 years, any job. What has kind of kept you going or kept you here? What has that been like?
Well, I realized there was a lot of Hispanics here. And in those days, many of them didn't speak much English.
Yeah.
And so since I spoke Spanish, it was just natural to help them out all the time when they came in. And you get to know them, and they say this or that or the other, they need help with this or that. And so I'd go do that too. And sometimes I needed to find work, and sometimes I knew where jobs were. And they just, on and on it went. And I had so many people I helped, so many people I became friends with. And it was good times for quite a while.
Well, I got to ask you about a bag over here next to, I guess, where the cake was. I didn't get here in time to have any cake, but...
Sorry.
It's okay. With a bag of Juanita's chips? What is that about?
Well, they had me...
That's okay. Yeah, come on. We got folks coming to say goodbye.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Take care. You have to come see us.
I'll stop back in.
Good. Take care.
So they had me... new manager Mike had me starting to try to straighten up the Juanita's chips. We had a whole bunch of them up here up front, and I was kind of doing that so I could kind of keep an eye on the front and get that done. And then they moved them to the back. Well, it was good for the Juanita's chips because it was a smaller area and you could keep better control of it. But I couldn't
go back and forth.
Be close to the check stand like I should be.
Yeah.
And so there came some friction over that, and they took me off it.
Yeah.
So I would just...
you got demoted from
I'd lost that, So I would go back, or I'd go on my breaks sometimes and straighten them out, and it kind of irritated me not to have that.
Yeah. So 44 years. Can you tell me a funny story or a favorite story from your time here?
My favorite thing that happened would have been... a guy named Refugio, they called him Cuco for short. He'd been up here one year, and the next year he says, I'm going to bring my wife back next year. Well, they had, by that time, 7 kids, and she'd had 3 miscarriages, and she was told not to get pregnant again.
Yeah.
But she got pregnant again. So I wound up taking her up to the hospital in Oregon City. It was supposed to be like a time or 2 a week, and by the time it was all over, it was almost every day I was taking her up there. And she, they couldn't tell because the uterus kept growing, but they finally said, oh, the uterus was growing, we couldn't tell, but the baby had died. So I had to go over and tell her that. And but she was such a great lady. She understood, and so she started coming to the Christian church with us. There was a Spanish language Bible study and church. And so she just, I said to my friend, I've told the gospel to her every way I can think of telling her, and she still hasn't become a Christian. And he says, patience. So I kind of sat back, and pretty soon she says, I'm going to be baptized on Christmas Day. I started to say okay, this is cross-cultural. Let her do what she wants, I said. So Christmas Day, they had just changed the heating thing on the baptistry. And the guy that went in there to turn it on did it the old way, and it didn't turn on. So we got there crisp Sunday morning.
Freezing cold.
It was cold.
Yeah.
And there was a waiter for the guy doing the baptizing to keep warm. but she didn't have anything.
Yeah.
She had to be immersed. So I said, well, I'm not going to put anything on. I'm just going to go in the water too. I didn't say very much. I just said what I needed to say. Got her in, under, out, and we got out. It was cold.
Yeah.
But she was such a delight.
Yeah.
And then it took a year and a half for her to win her husband over.
Mm-hmm.
But she did.
Yeah.
And that was just some of about the happiest times I had.
Are you a minister as well?
Not officially.
Not officially. Okay.
I did go to Bible college.
Yeah.
But I'm not a minister.
Yeah. Cool. What do you think you'll miss most from here?
I think it was mostly customers and there's some of the employees that were good friends.
You're not going to miss doing all the bagging and checking? You're not going to wake up and just yearn for that? I'm just teasing you, Ron.
There was, I got...
You're not going to miss having to do the Juanita's chips?
Not that much. It was more friction than it was worth. But I got really pleased with my bagging skills. You know, I had 44 years of doing this.
Yeah.
And, somebody said, I always come to you because you can bag my groceries right.
I've heard that from a lot of people, actually.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We're going to miss that. Although now we'll have to bring our own bags and do our own stuff, I guess, with the new law.
Oh, yeah, there won't be any plastic bags.
Yeah. Have to pay for them.
So, yeah. People kept asking me, when are you quitting? I said, when the plastic bags go, I go. Just joking. I don't. It seems like a.
Well, I mean, I'm just a coincidence. I'm sure the day after you retire is when that law takes effect.
Yeah, I was just saying that.
So, what are you any big plans for what's next? I mean, we're joking that going over to Fred Meyer, but it sounds like that's not.
I couldn't do that after working here all these years.
Well, I got one last question for you, if you can. After 44 years, is there anything that you would want to say to maybe folks that didn't have a chance to come see today, either to the customers or to the Cutsforth family and employees here that you've shared so much time with?
Just you give me a lot of options there. Cutsforth, the family has just been great. It's just good folks to work for.
Yeah.
Employees, by and large, it's been a lot of fun too. Some hassles and some hard times, but I'll just mention this at the end here. After that holdup, it was a lot of people were really nice to me, so it was a big boost. And what was the other thing? Oh, employees, customers, yeah, they just. I was just overwhelmed. So many people were coming up and saying they appreciated me.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Ron, for your time. Congratulations on a very well-deserved retirement. Wish you absolutely all the best. We will miss you. And from what I hear, you're going to go down in history as the longest-serving employee here at Cutsforth, including all the Cutsforth children.
Thank you.
By that sound that we are back at the Canby Music Store. I don't know if people realize that that's always me playing. No, I'm just kidding. That was Brian Haynes, owner of the store.
Because you've been taking lessons from me, right?
Exactly. Nice tie-in, nice seg. Band-Aid and all, playing that Old Lang Syne for us to bring in 2020. And we're also here with a new employee, Nathan Doty. Hi, Nathan.
Hey.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I grew up in the Canby area. I've been here my entire life. I started apprenticing here about a year ago.
Yeah, you've been here for a while. You're not that new.
Right, yeah. Under Taylor, and I apprenticed under him until he left. So taught me about everything he knew, or almost at least.
And like most of the folks here, are you a musician yourself?
Yes. Yeah, I mostly play the saxophone and the cello.
Okay, cool. Wasn't Taylor saxophone as well? Or okay, do you have just a thing for guys who play the sax? Or?
Yeah, well, there's so many moving parts and little gadgets and stuff on a saxophone, so I'd imagine that people that play saxophone get drawn to having to try to figure out how to fix all that stuff themselves.
That's a good point. Yeah, not a simple instrument.
Yeah,
very kind of mechanical in some ways.
So I'd imagine that's why, because there's somebody else that comes in here from high school that he's also a saxophone player and he's also learning how to think. So I think, yes, I do think it's correct. It's something to do with the saxophone.
Yeah, and maybe that instrument also maybe tends to attract folks that have more of that mechanical mind or like to tinker and fix things. So
could be.
Yeah. So, but you fix all kinds of instruments here.
Yeah, all the brass and the woodwinds that come in here, I fix them.
You were like doing some kind of grinding on a guitar or something when I came in. I don't know what you're doing over there.
Putting the frets.
Oh, okay. Put new frets on them?
Well, the notches for the strings to go in the nut there.
Yeah. So he's primarily brass and woodwind, but does guitar stuff. But we do all the repairs for the band instruments at the high school and the middle school here in town, plus other schools, and then people's personal instruments. And we have our own rental fleet that we take care of. So we do lots of repairs these days.
Yeah. And that's a little bit, both the repairs and the rentals are a little bit of a lesser known service, I think, as far as what you guys offer here.
Yeah, it's a very erratic business to be in because in September, the beginning of the school year, it's just, 12, 14-hour days and all this stuff. And then other times of the year, you don't do much with it because...
Probably summer is pretty slow for the...
Well, no, actually, summer is when the schools bring all the instruments to get repaired.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So that's busy.
So, after Christmas here, it'll be slow for a while because their Christmas concerts are done, and everybody's instruments will be repaired for the most part.
Right.
It's a really up and down part of the business.
Yeah, but then, after Christmas break, the parents are all annoyed with having to hear their kids all Christmas break, so they break their instruments just to get some peace. No, I'm just kidding.
No, what they should do is bring their kids in for lessons so they don't sound so bad.
Yeah, well, I think that the range that you guys offer, both in terms of the repairs and the lessons, because you offer all kinds of different instruments lessons, I think is interesting and something that a lot of folks don't know. They think, that's the guitar place or whatever, maybe. But.
Right, and part of that's my fault because back in the day it was just a guitar.
Yeah.
But for the last 5 years now, we've been really building this the school band instrument stuff. And I have somebody here that does brass lessons and as well, and we can do saxophone lessons. And so we're really involved with all aspects of the school band, with all the reeds and other accessories that they need to buy for it and the books. And we go to the schools and can actually pick up instruments there or repair. If it's an easy repair, we might just do it for the kid right there. Or people can bring them here and then we can deliver it to the school. So sometimes, say a parent comes in there with their kid and we need to get this done and they need it by Friday, because of whatever reason.
Right.
And so instead of, them trying to figure out their work schedule and stuff, we'll just drop it off at the school when we're done in the band room.
Yeah, cool. For the repairs, do you do more kind of classic instruments, or have you done things that are really valuable, or kind of almost sort of a restoration in that sense? Or
but a lot of the school-owned band instruments are vintage instruments.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And they're of varying quality. But I mean, there is some stuff. You'll have one, just junker next to another one that's quite valuable. You never know.
It might have been a donation, or you never know how.
Right. A lot of the instruments are donations.
Yeah.
And they have 100 instruments, school-owned instruments, and of all different shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
And something that somebody might think is just some beat up old tuba.
Right.
It's like a $6,000 tuba.
This is a royal tuba. Yeah. I do think that that's cool because I'm not a musician myself, but There seems like so many things today are like designed to break, and like things like that, like planned obsolescence, they call it. And instruments are cool, and oftentimes if they're not like that, that that you really can take some, anything above like the kazoos we were playing with last time, Brian.
Hey, don't knock the kazoos.
Nathan, have you ever had any repairs that have sort of thrown you for a loop, or you're like, how did you get that in there?
Well, certain times, yeah. I mean, there's been certain stuck mouthpieces and trumpets that have been like, man, what did you do to this thing? And stuck slides oftentimes, bent keys, broken keys, things that just disappear randomly. But oftentimes it's from people dropping things, or we've seen several students who actually damaged the instruments on purpose, it seems. And those are some pretty interesting ones. But we can always fix them here. So
I just couldn't find my hammer, but the flute was right there. So
that's one thing to point out. Sometimes people ask, well, how come this student trumpet that I can buy it on Amazon or whatever for $125? Why is this one like $800? And the reason, one of the many reasons, but one of the reasons since we're talking about this stuff is that the $125 one, if it plays, once it comes out of the box in the first place, but if it gets dropped and beat up, it's done. You throw it in the garbage can. The quality ones, one, they're very durable and it's hard to really beat them up. But two, when they can almost always be repaired and serviced for years and years. So if you're just buying a trumpet to last a couple months that kind of plays, then $100 trumpet would be an option. But if you're planning on having your kid all in junior high and high school, I mean, that's 6 years. And then you might have another kid that goes in there or whatever. And so these instruments that cost more last decades.
So if there is somebody who, their New Year's resolution is to learn an instrument, or get better at whatever instrument they play, how do the lessons work here at Canby Music? Do you have a certain schedule or certain times?
Sure. We do lessons every day. The store's open, which is every day but Sunday. Morning, noon, and night. We officially open at 11, and sometimes we do earlier, and we go as late as 8 o'clock at night.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. So definitely some opportunity for working folks or whatnot to stop by after or whatever.
Yep, and we have several instructors and adding more. I'm actually looking for more instructors, but we do all kinds of lessons. Obviously guitar and all the stuff that I've always done. I have somebody here that's now doing vocal lessons. And piano and, like I said, a brass, which for people who don't know, brass is trumpet, trombone, tuba, French horn, baritone, euphonium, anything that's kind of shiny and normally has buttons that you push down like valves.
Cool. Okay. The shiny ones. Got it. All right, Nathan, last question. Anything that has sort of surprised you about working here at Canby Music, or?
I mean, every day is a surprise, the things that come in here that you don't expect.
Brian comes up with.
He has some pretty interesting ideas. But, the relationship with the schools is an interesting thing to me.
You grew up in these schools?
Kind of, yeah. So going around to them and helping out with the instruments there is always kind of an interesting thing. But sometimes I'll go to the schools with a small briefcase full of tools, and they'll say, okay, who needs a repair, and then I'll go around to the students' instruments and fix all the small little problems that are happening.
Fun.
So it's interesting.
Come in and provide that service. Cool.
Yep. So if anybody's listening to this that's outside of Canby and we don't go to that school, you can always recommend us to go to the band teacher to have us come to the school. Cool. We're always happy to.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks so much.
Yep. Thank you.
The Canby Now podcast is brought to you in part by the Wild Hair Saloon, where Canby goes to eat and have fun. Lifelong Canby residents Darren and Joan Monin founded the Wild Hair 16 years ago, and as their business has grown and expanded, they've continued to give back to the community they love. They're one of the biggest supporters of school activities, youth sports, local events, and even this podcast. They have a heart for Canby, plain and simple.
They also have some of the best food and drinks on the planet.
Did I forget to mention that?
No, it's all right. I'm going to mention it. It's no accident that residents voted them the best restaurant and best service through the Canby Area Chamber of Commerce last year. Happy hour daily from 3 to 6. Kids eat free on Mondays, live music and breakfast on the weekends. And They have great salads and other healthy options to help you keep your New Year's resolutions. Check them out just off of Highway 99E next to the Space Age in Canby, at 1656 Beaver Creek Road in Oregon City, or on their website, thewildhairsaloon.net. The Canby Now podcast is a production of Now Hear This Studios, Canby's locally owned full-service audio, video, and media production company. Our mission is to produce the best content in the universe, and we'd love to help you do it. Find us online at nhtstudios.com.
The Canby Now podcast is dedicated to preserving independent local journalism and redefining local news with our fun, fresh, and energetic brand of storytelling. Our sincere thanks to our local sponsors who make this show possible. Please show your appreciation by supporting the small businesses who support us.
Huge thank you as well to our supporters on Patreon. We rely on your monthly contributions to continue to do this work that we seriously love. For information on how you can become one of the coolest people in the world, a patron of the Canby Now podcast, visit cambynowpod.com/plus.